Engelbert was the first UR tank in War of the Visions, and before the release of Warrior of Light, he was actually the best tank for a long while. He is crazy resistant to physical attacks, and now that he's getting his EX job, that's even more true. So if you're looking for a tank that has top tier durability and deals decent damage, versus physical units of course, he is the best tank to pick. He doesn't have the type of utility that somebody like Kingmont has, or the ability to tank both physical and magical attacks like Warrior of Light, for example, but specifically versus physical, he is almost impossible to take out, so that's really his niche. Today we'll take a look at his stats, his abilities, his build, and just generally whether he's a good investment or not. So if we compare his stats with the two other UR tanks that we have that are not time limited, Engelbert has by far the most HP. 5.8k is pretty insane, but he doesn't have a specific VC that's really tailored towards increasing his own HP like Kingmont does, so he ends up having a little bit less in fights actually. He's got a little bit less attack than these two as well, but still deals decent damage I would say. His main drawback is his agility of 54. He does gain quite a bit of agility with his EX job compared to before, but he's still extremely slow. His main assets are his extra defense. As you can tell, he has 27 defense, which is a lot more than what Kingmont has, and you guys have probably seen Kingmont with upwards of 70 defense, so Engelbert can do even better. Then he has really good resistances without any VC or espers. 20% resistance to slash and missile is pretty good, 25 resistance to striking, but a minus 30 to magic, so if he's taking magic attacks, he will go down rather quickly compared to a lot of other units. If we look at the way his stats move from 99 to 120, I would say you gain most of the benefits by moving to 115. Those are the extra points of agility that he desperately needs. From 115 to 120, he gets another 800 HP, which is cool, and then 30 points of attack, but overall, I would say if that was the only criteria, you could run him at 115. He gets a crazy ability though at 120, which is really part of his identity as a tank, so I think you need to get him all the way there if you want to make use of Engelbert. Before we talk about that new ability though, let's see the upgrades. The first one, Paladin's Blessing, is Paladin's Life Protection, which increases his healing power. That will be good for two reasons. First of all, he gets a new move that drains HP, so he's going to drain a lot more thanks to that passive. But also, Engelbert is the kind of tank that doesn't have any status effects to land, so usually people run him at 50 faith, or you could even do 30 faith, not use bells on him, and make sure that he doesn't take all that much magic damage. That's the way I'm using Nasha, and she can usually take 2 to 3 hits from a Black Rose Helena, even though she has an innate magic weakness, so Engelbert could do the same. If he has a super low faith, it's very hard to heal him, but having some extra healing power makes up for that, so it's still possible for a friendly healer to keep him alive, even if you leverage the low faith strategy. So I really like that upgrade, even though it seems a little bit random on a tank that doesn't heal others. Then his Courage ability is upgraded with the ability to generate hate, and he gets a second cast of it. That's especially fun for just hate generation purposes in general. Now he doesn't need to land Taunting Blade, which frees up two things. First of all, he does not have to be a Paladin sub-job. He could generate hate with his main job as well, so you could put him as a monk or as a knight if you wanted to, but mainly generating hate before meeting the enemy team moves the enemy towards your tank in some maps, so there's a lot of gameplay that this opens up for. Also, getting a second cast is going to be really good if you want to bring Engelbert in guild battle, because now he can actually do that in both fights. And then finally, his new ability is really an insanely good one. For this specific hit, he has 50 defense penetration, which is really good, and then it deals a decent mod at 175, typeless attack, so it's not going to be affected by resistances or weaknesses to damage types at the very least, and then has increased damage depending on how much HP Engelbert has, that's fine, but it mainly absorbs some damage done, so it's going to hit fairly hard with all these bonuses, but mainly it's going to heal him back, and then with his healing power up passive, it's going to heal him back quite a bit. I've seen JP footage where he gained back half his HP, so it can be rather impressive. Now, it is a melee range ability, so he needs to get there, but as a tank, he should be tanky enough to actually be in melee range eventually. He does also have to hit. Engelbert has a good luck, but there's no accuracy up passives anywhere, so you might want to gear him with accuracy to make sure he actually lands the move, since it increases his survivability as well. A standard build for Engelbert could be something like that, with 9.6k HP, 74 defense, pre-buffs, He is a wall. He's almost impossible to kill, and then if you're running vision cards that give him extra resistances, it's really easy to get him above 50% in kind of any resistance you want, as long as it's not magic resistance. He does have a decent attack, I guess, at 783, but he's not going to hit as hard as a King Mont, in my opinion, even if you're running the light attack up sword on him. His agility at 71 is also really low, so he's not a fast character. That is not what he does. He also struggles with mobility with a move of 3 jump 1, so he might have trouble just reaching the front line before the rest of your team unless you haste him, but once he's there, he's not moving, he's not dying, so that is a really good part. Good partners for him are anybody that's going to increase his defense further. If you're running Thancred, Silma, 9S, he moves from nearly unkillable by physical attacks to basically unkillable, unless the enemy has a lot of defense penetration. You could also run somebody like Cecil, give him a barrier. There's a lot of options. He is also a great partner for any hyper carry, so characters that can kill the entire enemy team by themselves. An example of that is Black Rose Helena, it could be Glaciela, the new one that's just getting released. So any kind of character that will kill the enemy team but needs protection, he will work naturally well with because he's a tank. And then since he has some healing power up, you could pair him with healers, and that would also work very well. Characters to avoid are magical damage dealers, especially those that deal magic type attacks, because now there's a lot that deal like various types of damage, but that will chew through your Engelbert pretty quickly. Now, he does have 10,000 HP and courage, so it's still going to take quite likely 3 to 4 hits to take him down, because if people run him at like 30 Faith, he will not take that much damage from magical attacks. But considering he could probably take like 7 to 8 physical attacks, it's still a lot easier to kill him with those. Also, avoid fighting anybody that has Dispel in their attacks, because that will remove your hate, and so Engelbert will be ignored for the rest of the fight, and your other carries will die. So if you're fighting a Sniper, somebody with a Dispel spread, if you're fighting EX Ramada, I mean, just whoever has a Dispel somewhere in their kit, that is going to be a tougher fight. So should you go for him? Well, he's a highly specialized tank. If you have a build Warrior of Light or King Mont, I don't know that the extra benefits you'll get from Engelbert will be that necessary. I think he is a step up in terms of versatility over somebody like Whisper, but then again, Whisper, if she fights a target that she's built for, will negate damage even better than what Engelbert can do. So they kind of each have their edge. He is self-sustainable, he can finish off enemies or start fights really well with his HP drain ability, but he's slow, he doesn't have a lot of mobility. If you're fighting mages, he will likely not be the best tank, and if you're fighting enemies that have a lot of defense penetration, like Cloud, who just got released, he will not be that great either. Like, Cloud can come in with 60% defense penetration and typeless attacks, and then he'll hit Engelbert rather hard, even though he's technically super tanky. So there are a couple of reasons why maybe he's not the best tank, but in some scenarios he will definitely be almost unkillable. If I was to give him a rating by game mode, I would say he's really average in PvE. As a unit that doesn't have a lot of starting AP, he will not be able to do that much. He's really there to tank. He'll do a little bit of damage, but he'll have to weave in basic attacks or TP skills in the meantime. So not the strongest carry in that game mode when you could be running like King Mont instead. Then in Arena, he will do really well if you're fighting the right enemy. So I'll give him a 7 out of 10 because lately when I've been seeing teams, except those new Lightning teams, there's always been like one Black Witch or one Yuna or somebody who deals magic damage and then can potentially take out your Engelbert without him tanking for a long time. So that's not great. Same for Guild Battle. The issue is the fact that I'm pretty sure most team comps that I face have at least one magical carry, so it's pretty hard to find a purely physical team. If you do though, he's going to do really well, so you could give him a higher rating for those physical matchups. For manual PvP, not the unit I would pick. He doesn't have the type of mobility needed to do a super good job, and then he doesn't have a win con by himself, where he will, if you manage to land it right, win you the fight. You could be running somebody like King Mont and run the AoE Berserk, run somebody like Dwayne, run the AoE Barrier Break and Disable. So there's a lot of characters that are tanky in a similar way, but have actually a way of winning you the fight. He is just there for tanking, so outside of auto game modes, I don't think he performs well. Auto class matches though, he can do a really good job. He can change your starting positions to make sure that he's ahead of your team and maintains that distance, and so you don't get caught in AoEs, and he'll just take hits for a very long time. You could end up matching against mages, but even there, if you're running him at a very low faith, he can take enough hits that I think the rest of your team will do a good job. So my plan is to not EX him though. Unfortunately, I don't even have Engelbert at 99, so I don't have the resources to EX him right now. Eventually, I'll do it though. I've seen JP footage where because his new ability is a melee range, and it is often his best damaging option, he actually goes all the way in melee with the enemy team, and so the rest of your guys don't get caught in AoEs with him, and that's a really good thing. He has single-handedly carried fights that I've seen. So I think he's a really good tank. You just need to pick the right matchup, which is why he's not as versatile as some other options out there. But that was it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it and learned a thing or two. If you did, please like and subscribe. And as per usual, guys, thank you so much and have a great rest of your day.